think as humans, we all try to avoid suffering as much as possible, but embracing one's suffering is a central theme in Catholic theology. And it's not about seeking out pain, but it's about how we respond to these unavoidable hardships, pain, and illnesses. So, the church teaches that Christians can unite their personal struggles with the sacrifice of Jesus on the cross. Offering it up, offering it up is a common Catholic phrase, offering hardships as prayer or sacrifice. Pope John Paul II writes in 1984 on the Christian meaning of human suffering that Christ did not abolish human suffering, but redeemed it so that it could carry spiritual and meaningful purpose. So I got this book the other day, just a small little prayer book, The Agony of Jesus by Saint Padre Pio, one of my favorite saints. And I'm just gonna read a quick paragraph. It says, "He has prayed to teach us also that when our soul finds itself in desolation like his, we should seek consolation from heaven only in prayer to sustain us in the sacrifice. He, our strength, will be ready to assist us because he had willed to take upon himself our miseries." And so this book is about Jesus in the garden, the agony in the garden. And so it's the night before he's betrayed, or the night he is betrayed before he gets crucified. And so I'm reading this and I'm realizing that I try to avoid suffering as much as possible. I've talked about it a lot. I deal with a lot of mental health issues since I've came out of prison, and I tried to avoid that with marijuana. One of the first things I did when I got released was I got a medical card, and so whenever I had thoughts creeping into my head that I didn't like, I would go smoke. And if you ever met someone that's high, there's not a lot of thoughts going on inside, so it calms down the thoughts. But I realized that I'm relying on the weed to get through my suffering, to not embrace my suffering. And Padre Pio says that we're supposed to embrace our suffering and to then dive deep into prayer. And so this book really touched my heart. And so for the first time in since I started smoking weed, I guess, I decided to stop. There's been a couple times in prison where the weed ran out, and so I didn't smoke, but that wasn't a personal choice. Um, but yeah, so 9 days ago, I stopped weed completely, cold turkey. And let me tell you, it's been a rough 9 days. um, I haven't slept a lot. I've been very irritable, not a lot of motivation, not eating a lot. But I feel so much closer to God now. And this embracing the suffering, I think, is a amazing thing. Um, I've been filling my days where I used to smoke multiple times a day. I've been filling that with prayer, praying the rosary multiple times a day. As you guys know, the rosary is a major part of my life, and so I just used it as a crutch to help me get through these 9 days. And the rosary has done miracles for me. But I think all the suffering that I've gone through in the last 9 days, thinking about just rampant thoughts going through my head, thinking about my father passing away, uh, you know, thoughts of disappointing my father because I went to prison and all that stuff, all that running through my head. And, you know, if I ever had those thoughts, instantly would go outside and smoke. But now I'm just sitting with them, I'm embracing them, and I'm thankful for them because it's, again, bringing me so much closer to God. And the interesting, I think, the interesting thing I think about this book is a lot of people think about Jesus' suffering on the cross, that physical suffering, but the agony in the garden was all a mental suffering. And I think people forget that. It's not, he didn't just go through a physical suffering. He sat in that garden knowing that he was going to go through the worst thing ever. And he just had to sit with his thoughts, right? And it reminds me of what I've been doing the last 9 days, just sitting with my thoughts. And so, real quickly, I just wanted to read one Bible verse from Romans 5 3 to 5. And it says, "And not only that, but we also boast in our sufferings, knowing that suffering produces endurance, and endurance produces character, and character produces hope. And hope does not disappoint us, because God's love has been poured into our hearts through the Holy Spirit that has been given to us." Right? And I like how it started off. We also boast in our sufferings. And I think that's the point I was trying to make, is that I'm thankful for these 9 days of of no sleep and rampant thoughts going through my head, because I think this is the strongest I've ever felt the Holy Spirit in my life. And it's worth every single thought that I've thought these last 9 days. It's worth all the it's worth all the lack of sleep, all those hours staying up. It's worth it to be this close to the Holy Spirit. So I just pray that you guys can embrace your suffering too, and that through that suffering it can bring you closer to Jesus Christ. So thank you guys for listening, and God bless.